Having spent over 2 decades in the finance industry, I've come to spot what are the true markers of financial wealth, how to tell if someone is on the right track with their income and their expenses, and what the telltale signs are of financial success. So here are 5 simple markers to tell how you're doing financially, if you're on the right track with your financial goals, if you need to make slight corrections or adjustments, and why you're probably not as bad off as you think you are, just in case you need some cheering up or are kind of frustrated and worried about your expenses. As of right now in both Canada and the US, everybody's being hit with a cost of living crisis. It seems like everything is going up. Housing, cars, gasoline, food, even fast food. And everybody's worried, feeling anxious, and wondering how they're doing financially. People are stressed and worried, laying in bed wondering, am I going to be able to afford my house payment this month? Can I even buy a home? What am I going to do if my rent increases?
Reduced spending and a slowing global economy are reasons most economists believe Canada will tip into a short, shallow recession.
There is a natural tendency for people to want to compare themselves to other people. And there are 2 ways that people do this. The first way, and by far the most common popular way, is that people make upward comparisons. They're always looking up to other people. We see this all over social media, where people are flashing their lavish lifestyles, fancy homes, new cars, and we're all worried, maybe I'm not where I should be financially, as I don't really compare and measure up to what they seem to have. The second comparison method is looking downwards at other people that are less successful than ourselves. Most people, and I'm guilty of this myself, don't look downwards and focus on people who are less successful than we are. We're always looking upwards, comparing ourselves to people who are more successful. And the reason is because we're hardwired or programmed to do this. Fessinger's social comparison theory says we do this because we have no objective way to measure our success. We have no yardstick to gauge how successful we are. So we do this by comparing our perceived success to the perceived success that we see in other people to gauge exactly where we fall in the spectrum. There are 2 problems with this. First, we're completely disregarding and not even paying attention to all those people who are less successful than ourselves. We're only focusing our attention on the set and group of other people that we perceive as more successful than we are. The second problem is that, well, we know this. We know that all these people that we see are going on fancy trips, having a great house, a flashy car, or just look absolutely beautiful or in shape. All of this is carefully presented and scripted for social media. We know it to be fake, yet we still fall for it every time. We think that's their actual lifestyle, how they live every day. It'd be like an absolutely beautiful, natural-looking woman looking at Instagram and comparing herself to those carefully photoshopped models she sees all the time. There's no way a real-life woman could look like that all the time, and we know this, yet people are automatically drawn to that and kind of turn off that part of the brain telling them, well, I know this is fake, but I kind of want to believe this is true. So many people have been caught and busted doing this, that they're walking down the street and they see a fancy car that they don't own, and they say to their friends, hey, quick, take a picture of me leaning on the car. And they pretend like they own it, when in fact, they have nothing to do with the car. They aren't the owner at all. Did you know you can actually rent fancy cars for a few days? It doesn't cost, well, that much. You can rent everything from a Lamborghini to a McLaren to a Ferrari. Oh, and all those photos you see of people riding in exotic jet planes off to some fancy, well-to-do, faraway island, well, it's been revealed that many of those photos are actually fake. You can actually go to a studio and they have a prop for a jet plane right in the studio. It looks totally realistic. You just sit in their little studio props. You have somebody take photos of you and it looks like you're actually riding in a jet plane. It's completely fake. It's just a rigged studio set. Better solid indicators of long-term wealth that you should be using as a comparison benchmark are actually personal growth, education, skill development. This will actually lead to much larger long-term wealth accumulation than, say, a new fancy car. This will allow you to get a raise or promotion at work, maybe land that new job or career, or at least establish a side business or side hustle, increasing your net income. You will get much farther ahead than if you waste it on simple little trinkets or flashy items that, well, you're happy with for a few weeks. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Aaron, a 20-year corporate accountant and analyst. I can't fix your car if it breaks down. That's not really my thing. Apparently, I have trouble putting together an aperture light and I have to YouTube it to be able to figure out how to do it. But when it comes to personal finance and investing, I'm just miles ahead of most people. The second big mistake that we make is believing that everyone's journey is the same. Your individual path is unique to you. I remember when I turned, 35, 40, and I began looking around at work. And all of my colleagues, some of my friends, they started moving up. They were making manager and they were doing really well, getting promoted, moving on to other companies. And I was still in the same position or slowly beginning to move up. And I started looking around thinking, why am I here? Am I falling behind? Everybody else seems like they're starting to thrive and prosper and move on to big and better things. And I'm stuck kind of still doing the same thing or related. And am I getting as far ahead as I would like in my career? You start comparing yourself to other people thinking, well, they're here. I should be there too. Aren't I? Am I behind? Am I not doing as well as they are? Where should I be financially? So I'm sitting in my office just like every other day. It's just a normal, regular day. And I had a revelation. A light bulb went off in my head because I started thinking about my boss's position. Well, eventually, do I see myself doing that? Because that's the natural progression. You move up from where I am as an accountant, you become supervisor or manager of that department. And I sat and thought long and hard about it because I knew what she did and how hard she worked in the overtime and the details and the headaches, what she had to go through. And after about an hour, I turned and said to myself, no, I don't want to do that at all. That's not what I want out of my career. Well, where do you want to go then? Like, what are you doing with your career? And I had to make a career shift. And it's not an easy thing to do, but that was the best choice that I could have made for me. I didn't see myself one day becoming my boss. And then maybe when I'm 50, 55, 60, before I retire, become manager or vice president. That wasn't the career path that I wanted. It wasn't in the cards for me. I didn't want that kind of lifestyle. Everybody, when they look up, they usually just see the money. They see, famous actors or vice presidents and they think, wow, think of the paycheck. Think of the money. Think of the fame they're getting. But they don't realize all the sacrifices behind the scenes that person had to make. I actually would rather do a few side hustles on the side and be happy doing what I love, such as this, rather than be some vice president off in a company I don't care about, working long hours. And sure, the pay's higher, but that's not who I am. That's not what contributes to my soul and my happiness. So it's about finding your purpose. What is right for you? What is the right fit? I'd rather make less money and be happy than make more money and have to work overtime and just absolutely hate my 9-to-5 job. That to me is no way to live. The third thing that people don't do is just implement and test financial basic principles and understand them. It doesn't have to be some overly complicated test to determine your overall financial health. Just like you would for, say, your physical health. You could do easy tests to determine where you're at. Try sitting cross-legged on the floor. And then try to get up without the use of your hands. The easier you can get up, chances are the more healthy you are. The same thing goes for your finances. It doesn't have to be some overly complicated tests that you do. You can do simple financial tests and you understand and practice the basic principles. There's a reason why this is taught all over YouTube and the internet. Take portfolio allocation, for example. I would much rather have an easy to understand portfolio such as 80% stocks and equities, index funds, than 15% bonds, then 5% international equities and investments. I can understand that. It makes sense. Rather than some complex jargon that I don't understand with hedge funds, put in call options, set up by some financial advisor, and I completely don't understand the terms or how it works. So A, do you have an investment portfolio? And do you understand how that portfolio works, what the allocations are? Or you only kind of know and are kind of lost in some of the terms? B, do you have a budget? Do you actually have a budget or at least roughly know what your expenses and net income are every month, and you can kind of track where your money goes? C, do you have an emergency fund? Do you have some money set aside in case your car breaks down? Roughly 1/3 of Canadians and 57% of Americans couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency if they had to. If you at least have $500 to hopefully $2,000 or 3 to 6 months of net income set aside in case of emergency, you're probably doing a lot better than most people. It's not easy to come up with, especially with the cost of living and housing crisis, but as long as you're trying or have something. D, do invest part of your paycheck. Do you take, 5, 10, hopefully 20% of your paycheck, set aside for savings, investing every week or month? If you regularly understand and practice some of these principles, one, you're far less likely to be scammed because at least you understand the terminology and what makes sense and what doesn't. And second, you continue to apply and build on what you already know each and every day. I don't know about yourself, but I'm on the internet like everybody, and I see some of these scams, and I know they're scams. I can tell in about 10 seconds if something is a scam.
You can't lose money. No way.
Because I know enough about investing. I hear, you can make an easy $500 a day just by doing this. No, you can't. No, you can't. It doesn't make sense. Number 4, you don't have your own personal wealth circle, as I call it. You don't know who you are. So when I was younger, I used to be really into fast cars. Now, I could care less. I couldn't tell you the difference in engine size or horsepower between a Lamborghini, Ferrari, or a Honda Civic. It's not who I am. My main priorities are having a great computer, having a great television and stereo setup. Those things are important to me. That's who I am. So I prioritize buying stuff like that add and complement and make me happy high on my priority list. I don't know if you caught it, but I have a great collection of books and also DVDs.
I like to read, and once I read something, I understand it.
And I don't know if you remember, but when the series ended, Breaking Bad, I'm really a fan, they came out with this collector's edition. It was this big barrel you could get, and it had all the series and episodes in it. Plus they threw in a few little extra features, and I think it was $400 it was going for to buy it. Would this really make my life better?
Yes.
No, seriously, no, it wouldn't. And so I never ended up buying it. It's just going to make me happy for a few days, maybe a week or two, and then it's just going to sit on the shelf, collect dust, and I won't really do nothing with it. I'll maybe look at the pamphlets and rummage through it, but it's a cash grab. That's all it is. So I'm not going to waste my hard-earned money, because if you think about it, it costs $400. That takes me about, 5 to 10, 15 hours of work to pay for that. After you factor all that in, is it really worth it? And that's how your money goes. Just those little choices of saying no to this so you can later say yes to something else that is a priority in your life that will truly make you happy. People always talk about, don't buy that cup of coffee because it's actually making you poor. No, buy your cup of coffee. If that's what you enjoy and it gives you that little bit of pleasure every day, go out and buy a cup of coffee. It's about saying no to certain things so you can say yes to other things that truly do make you happy in life. A cup of coffee isn't going to impact your finances that much as, say, budgeting your home and auto expenses would. It doesn't have the same impact on your finances. A cup of coffee, housing and transportation. I remember a few years ago, my neighbor bought this brand new car, and I was so jealous. He had this brand new car just sitting in the driveway. It was all shiny and sleek, and I was so jealous. I was still driving my beat up old beater. And it just really got to me. And then I started going into the details of it. Well, I later found out that he leased that car. Now, he didn't tell me what he leased it for, what he paid, but let's say he leased it for $500 to $550 a month. Okay, so if he has that for, let's say, 3 years, that amounts to approximately 500 times 12 equals times 3 years equal. Okay, $18,000. $18,000 he would have spent on his car. So, okay, he spent $18,000 for 3 years, and he doesn't own that car at the end of it. Okay, he had to return it. Maybe he got another car. I'm still driving my beater, but say, obviously I didn't spend the $18,000. I invested it into the S&P 500, which is the 500 largest companies in the United States. So people earn an average return in the S&P 500 of between 8 and 11%. So let's say I earned 9.5%. Wow, 9.5% times 500. Half times 500. Okay. A lot of money. Okay. So that money would have compounded, and I could have saved that money and continued to have that rollover and compound year after year. So yeah, I'm driving an old beat up car and he has a brand new car, but he has to trade in and he has nothing to show for it at the end. There's no salvage value. He owned nothing. He was just renting. Whereas I, even though it's an old beater, I own that. So who comes out further ahead? I have my thousands of dollars in investments. He got to drive a new car for a few years. So when you break it down by that, well, who's actually richer? The fifth thing is you're practicing what is known as stealth wealth. As of right now, cars, homes, and well, a lot of things are at record prices right now. So if you're not buying these items to show off to your neighbors or flash on Instagram or Facebook, remember my neighbor, huh? With the fancy car I just talked about? If you're not doing that and you're buying items because they serve a purpose in your life and you're living practically and below your means, chances are you're doing pretty well. If you think about it, whoever buys a Rolls Royce or a Lamborghini because they're a car enthusiast. No, they buy it to show off, usually. Most of the time is to flash and drive down a street and show off to everybody walking by and, oh, look at me, how cool I am and how much money I got. One thing I've always wondered is, would you really feel comfortable driving it to a mall, say, and parking it and thinking, well, it'll still be there when I come out? It should be, hopefully. One of the easiest examples of this is buying a home that is a little bit smaller, but that you can easily afford. When you go to the bank or try to qualify for a mortgage, you don't take the maximum home that you just qualify for. You live well below your means. So if you can afford a home for, say, $700,000, you only buy a home for, say, $500,000. And you save and invest that extra money that would be contributing towards your house that you'd be making on your mortgage payment, or you pay off your home earlier and continue to live in that smaller home. That way, if the interest rates fluctuate, and we know they do, you're able to easily absorb that change in your mortgage payments. Living below your means has so many advantages as long as you take that extra money, that savings, and invest it wisely. I've been investing now for 23 years now, and I'm getting pretty good at it. If you continue to invest and learn about all the investments out there and study up on it, you'll be amazed at where you are 5, 10 years from now if you just continue to get a little bit better, 1% better every day, and learn a little bit more about investing. Unfortunately, if you continue to rely on your 9-to-5 job to eventually get you ahead and hopefully retire solely on that income, you're just being left behind. Like if you're going to work and, oh, I make 50 now, and in 2-3 years, I'll make 55,000. And then a few years from then, I'll make hopefully 60,000. You're being left behind. You're being left in the dust. The best thing you can do for your future self is to, 1, learn about investing and personal finance. And 2, like I've always said, diversify your income. This is practiced by the rich. The rich people invest their money because they're generating a much huger return than you'll ever get from, say, your 9-to-5 job. Maybe you get a 1 to 2% raise. The rich are easily getting 7 to even 10% almost every year. And inflation chews into this a lot less and is treated more favorably in the eyes of the government, what is called capital gains. If you're one of those people that believe that your expenses seem to keep increasing, but your net income is becoming more and more disproportionate and is remaining stagnant relative to your expenses, you're actually correct. Click this next video here to find out how the middle class is being financially squeezed tighter and tighter each and every year, and how the gap between the rich and the middle class is continuing to slowly increase each and every year.